Well, hello everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day so far and that your weekend has been going well. It's raining here, which I love, but I'm gonna have to get out in that. That's the only thing I don't really like about rain is because a lot of people are trash drivers. So yeah. But anyway, I have decided to do a story time and it is to me, it's an interesting story time. It is about several events that occurred when I was a child protective services social worker. Now, this is where I'm going to do a disclaimer. A lot of people do not understand that if you have had that position or anything closely related to that, dealing with information and you want to discuss it to anyone outside of the situation, you can talk about it. The only thing that there is to it is that you cannot say the names of the people. And depending on how big the situation was, as far as like if it made national headlines or something like that, or was citywide news, that would be the only time where you would leave out certain details because it would alert everyone to exactly who you're talking about. But the things that I'm going to discuss, I think only one, if I do bring it up, kind of made the news. Yeah, it was a lot. So let me get started, y'all. Okay, so let me think. Okay, so there was this woman who had kids. If you were to see her just in passing, you would think she was a stud. I mean, I still to this day do not know what was going on. I kind of think she might have been bi because she kind of was, doing the most when I was in the midst. But anyway, a case was being passed to me and my supervisor went out to her home, with me because when you're new or fairly new, especially getting those cases and me actually going out in the field, she would accompany people. Now, there are some people, they might go out one time, be like, all right, now, you got it by, and that's it. She ain't play that. And even if I had been there for years upon years, if I ever wanted her to go out with me, she told me never hesitate to ask. And we would, work around her schedule and try to get that done. But anyway, we ended up going to her house, and the situation was that she keeps failing her drug tests. Ironically enough, every single one of the people on my caseload, with the exception of maybe one person, always would fail their drug tests. And I was just like, wow, it's crazy. Anyway, so she failed her drug screen, but what was in it was what was shocking to her when we told her. And the reason why the Department of Human Resources was involved anyway was because we had been getting reports that she had been having drugs around her kids and the environment was already not that safe because of where she lived. So there was already an added type of fear anyway. So we went there, we visited her. Y'all, we had been told like she basically was considered to be like a queen pin. Like she did the most. And she was the type of person that she would be able to talk circles around whatever the situation was to make sure she never incriminated herself. Well, we ended up telling her like, hey, you failed your drug screen now. All right, now you say you want your kids. And, we are not in the business of trying to take kids. Now, when I was in Child Protective Services, as I've mentioned before, I never had to remove children and place them into foster care. If children ever were removed from their parents or whoever the legal guardian was, whenever the case was passed on to me from the CAN unit, which is Child Abuse and Neglect, and, they are the, y'all, I don't know why I just that's so crazy. Anyway, if it was passed on to me from them, we had to follow up and it became our case. But anyway, if you have a case through that particular unit, child protective services unit, there might have been a chance that you would have to have your kids placed into foster care if you didn't do what you needed to do in order for us to close your case. Some of the times it would be as simple as the parents getting a job to show that they can provide a stable environment for their kids. Like, sometimes it really was that simple. For other people, they would do drugs and the water would be off, there would be no food at the house, the clothes would be too small to the point of where the kids at school would be joking on them and they were not appropriately dressed for the weather. Hair was not kempt like at all, and all that kind of stuff, like having lice and all that stuff. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, the upkeep of their hair was terrible. So many different reasons, y'all. But with this particular case, this woman failed her drug test and she was like, well, I ain't gonna lie to you, I do smoke weed. And we were like, okay, all right, and from what I know, well, it doesn't even matter. Back then, it wasn't legal to have it, smoke it, do any of that anyway. But she was shocked to find out that embalming fluid was in it. And she was like really upset. She was like, that has to be wrong. What do you mean? What? To set it off. And we had to explain to her that a lot of the times when people are dipping that stuff and when it's drying and all that stuff, what they have dipped it in and laced it with is embalming fluid. Like, a whole bunch of people have had weed and it's laced with embalming fluid. So she was very distraught about that, y'all. It was crazy. But anyway, it got to the point where she used some of her connections, if you will, to kind of make it hard for us to find a way to just place the kids somewhere else until she got her life right, because she was never going to do that. Drug dealing is her way of life, and from my knowledge, nothing ever happened to the kids as far as them getting hurt, but it's just where she lived and the kind of trouble that comes along with the street life. And it was just kind of like a lost cause, and her case was open and kind of passed around to other people. I would go out there and do what I need to do. Every time I went out there to do my visits, the water was running, there was plenty of food, the clothes were amazing, they had bedding, everybody had their own room, the rooms were clean. And this is what a lot of people don't understand either. With that unit, I never had to announce when I was coming to their house. So I would do pop-up visits. I loved to do pop-up visits, especially with one of my clients who loved to smoke crack. So anyway, she always had everything how it needed to be when we came over there, and I never saw drugs. So there really was nothing that we could do. So I guess I could segue into the client that I had who was on crack. Y'all, I had this man on my caseload who was on crack. He had kids. They were still relatively young. His mother had temporary legal custody of them. And she was very annoyed that with that being the situation, we had to come to her home and make sure everything was in order at least once a month. Well, when we first came in there, the kids were considered to be AR, which is at risk. So if any of your cases have kids on it that are listed as at risk, there is no excuse. You have to, every single month, go and see them at least once a month. At least. So even though that wasn't the case with some of my kids that were on my caseload, I would still make a point to go and see them, whether if it's at school, at sporting events that they were in, doctor's appointments, like anywhere that I could catch them, I would roll up. Anyway, with this dude, y'all, the dude lived for me, so I was already looking like, Lord, why did he have to be on my caseload? I'm talking about first day he meet me, my supervisor introduced me to him because he knew her. And he was like, oh, like really was trying to hit on me. And my supervisor was like, mister, you can't do that. That's your social worker and all this other stuff, y'all. I was so exhausted. I was just like, Lord, I got to deal with this. Really, y'all, the kids were beautiful. his mama was a mess, and I kind of did not really like having to deal with her, but you know, it's just a part of the business. Y'all, this man would have every opportunity in the world to change his life around, and he would never do it. Every single time I would do a drug screen, he would have crack in his system. He would try to tell me, oh, well, I ain't got a ride over there. I'd be like, oh, I'll come get you. Like, you can never try to lie or try to say, oh, I ain't got to wait over nowhere. Like, there would be times he would really try his best to wait until the place that we had a contract with, that we ended up paying for the drug screens with. We had this contract with or whatever. He would try his best to wait until they were about to close to be like, oh no, I ain't got a ride over there. Cause I'd be like, I sent a drug screen and there was a certain time I knew that it would get there, and he would wait. And it had a date on there. If you don't take it on that date, you get penalized, you know, by us. It doesn't look good on your record. It doesn't look good in your file, especially if you are trying to get full custody back of your kids. And, you know, I'm not going to go into what was going on with the mama, but the mother was not around. She was never going to be a good fit. Her family didn't care nothing about the kids. So that's why his mother came into play. She had a really nice house. She had all the means that, you know, were needed in order to take care of these kids. So we were lucky enough to get her to agree to do it, even though she had an attitude and some more about it. Y'all tell me why. It got to the point where every single time I popped a drug screen on this man, came up dirty for crack. We had a sit down with him. We was just like, look, we had to do an ISP, which is an individualized service plan, and it outlines the reason why your case was open to us, and eventually gets to the goals that we are setting that you feel like you can reach and that we know you can reach in order to get custody back of your kids and get a job. You gotta be doing drugs, whatever the situations are, whatever you want your goals to be, those are outlined in the ISP. Y'all, we would sit there, do ISP with him, have emergency ISPs because all kinds of stuff was going on, where his mama would be like, I can't take it anymore. And we'd be looking like, Lord, are we going to have to scramble after 5 p.m.? Lord, y'all, my schedule was from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., which didn't mean anything because anything could happen at any time. We actually had pagers that connected to our work phone and our cell phone. And I had an outdated other little phone that my stuff would go to if a client or anybody called my work phone, so I could get messages all day, all night, y'all. It did not matter. Y'all, we would sit up there after 5 p.m. trying to figure out what we can do to keep his mama on board. Y'all, it had just gotten so bad that every time we looked up, he still was filling the drug screens. And we were like, do you really want help? Like, my supervisor had got so tired that she was like, Glenda, I'm coming out with you every time that you need to see them, and he's probably gonna be there, because she know how he was getting down. Like, he do like, when I tell you, instead of him trying to talk about his kids and do what he needed to do to get clean, he was trying to hit on me. Like, he really was setting it off. And I'm just looking like, what about your kids though? Y'all, it got so bad that we were like, look, either you gonna go into rehab that we were gonna pay for, or you were never going to get your kids back. Y'all, he tried to fight us on it, and eventually he started crying. It was like, I'll do it. And it was going to be like a 60-day or 90-day program. He went and did it. I have no idea what happened after that because I wasn't with them during that whole time he was there. But y'all, that client was in a complete mess. The kids did them. I'm just glad that the kids actually was doing great in school. They did great in school. They were well-mannered. And it's so crazy. This is what always kills me. All of the clients that I have basically raggedy parents, right? And even if they're not in their life or they are constantly doing terrible things, those kids would love their parents. Like, they really would be up there loving on them. And I'm like, can't you see how your kids are acting, like the way that they would act when they would be around them. I'm just like, isn't that enough for you to stop doing drugs? Isn't that enough for you to get a job and be able to do what you need to do to provide for them, to get them back or keep them? It's just like, it was just like, oh well. And I'm just like, why are they not seeing what I'm seeing? Like, it just always infuriates me that these kids, like with that guy who was on crack, his son lived for his daddy. And I just would be like, what is it that kids see when their parents are raggedy like this? Y'all, but anyway, so y'all, there was this woman. She had 6 kids. She used to do crack and all the other stuff too. The daddy of the kids was the same way. And ironically enough, he was the father of all of them. And there weren't any twins, I don't think. There weren't any twins. Y'all, anyway. Luckily, we were able to do relative placement, and one of her sisters, I think, took them on. She did not want any help from us. And she was, she had her own kids that were in school too. So 6 mouths plus hers and her kids. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, we really thought that we really were sitting up there planning to have to put them into foster care and have them split up in order for them to have a viable chance at any type of a place to live. And she came, it's like she just came out of nowhere and was like, yeah, I'll take them. Literally did not ask us for a dime, didn't ask us to be like, hey, can y'all do this? Can y'all do that? Only thing she asked us was there any kind of way that we could do daycare? And we was like, that's the least that we could do, because she had to work. The woman worked on top of all this, like had a good job, a pretty decent job considering. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like y'all do not understand. Y'all don't understand. And like the woman would sit up there and act like, oh, I want my kids back. I want to do what I'm supposed to do. Y'all, I would pop up where she was supposed to be the mama, right? Pop up at the house that she was supposed to be living in, the apartment she's supposed to be living in, y'all. She might be there one day. She might be there. It might not be there another. And we would tell her, look, you ain't working or nothing. Like, she wasn't doing nothing. And then, like, one of the few times I was able to get inside to see the place, it was not. It was not the type of place that any children needed to live in. Every time I was able to catch her to give her a drug screen, she always tested positive for drugs. Y'all, one of the saddest things that happened, you sit up here and do the most, and this woman never asked for anything. She eventually was like, well, let me, not overwhelm myself so much, and let me get some food stamps, because she would have been able to qualify to get food stamps for the kids, because the mama had been getting them. Y'all, we didn't think nothing about this. The woman tried to get the food stamps, and we successfully switched it over, because all of us, the food stamp department, all of them, they were all in the same building as us. I literally went down to the person's office and was like, look, this was the situation, whatever. And they switched it over. Cool. Y'all, the mama set it off and found her way up there to DHR and requested to see me and my supervisor. And we came down to speak to her in one of the little offices. And she wanted to know what was going on. And we told her, someone else is taking care of your kids, as you know, and she's feeding them. Like, come on now. I mean, really set it all the way off. I was just like, ma'am, why you think you finna get over $1,000 or some in food stamps and you ain't got not now one of the children? Stop. Y'all, and then that wasn't even the end of that. She had the nerve to sit up there and claim them and try to get taxes back on them. Y'all, we was just like, no, well, we're not finna do that. Y'all, she did the most. But with that situation, the last I heard, the sister had them. They were thriving in her home. Never had any issues. They never, rebelled or did anything like that. And like 2 of the kids were like really, like all the kids were pretty young, but the youngest were like still in diapers. So yeah, she had a lot on her plate, but she was everything. But yeah, crazy. Y'all, another situation that happened to me was I had to go and meet a client. And y'all tell me why this is a payday Friday. Of all days, a payday Friday where everybody just got their check and everybody was out. Now, this was one of the projects that I had to visit. I ain't got nothing against the projects. A lot of people I know, relatives included, have lived in various projects in my city. This particular one, when I tell you everybody was outside, I was just like, Jesus, somebody please. Then it was hot. And everybody lived for the car that I drove anyway, so I already had eyes on me as soon as I rolled up. And it was just like, Lord, I done got out my car. I'm looking professional. And I'm just like, Lord, let me get in here and do what I got to do and get out. So I did my home visit. Tell me why 5 minutes after I left, there was a shootout. I didn't know, right? My mama started blowing my phone up, and I'm driving, right? I'm like, what is my mama calling me? Because I ignored it at first because I really don't like to talk and drive on the phone. And then I was just like, hello. She was like, you all right? Where you at? Because she knew. For some reason, I don't know why, I told her that day that I was going in that area. I had something to do. I had a client over there. I had to do whatever. I just told her where I was going to be. I like to let people know where I am, or at least I try to. But for some reason, I told her the area I was going to be in, and that was going to be my last stop for the day. So I did my home visit. There was a terrible shootout after I left. When I tell y'all don't be understanding how God works. God is everything. God really he be knowing. Like, he really be knowing. And then, like, there are a lot of times when I would try to do something. Like, one time I had to be in Wetumpka, Alabama, to go to a jail to visit somebody for a case. And for some reason, everything in the world happened that morning. I was running late, y'all. I got pulled by a sheriff. Y'all, tell me why. First of all, the sheriff was trying to hit on me. Second of all, he saw my driver's license and saw my last name and was like, it said my daddy's name. Your daddy? And I was like, yeah. I was like, Lord have mercy, Jesus. That was the only thing. The fact that he was here for me and he knew who my daddy was saved me from getting a ticket that day. And I was like, look, I'm running late. I got to be at Wetumpka I think I had I had to go to court. No, I had to go to court that day. I had to visit one of my clients who was locked up. I had to visit her in jail. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I be hitting it. I ain't gonna lie, I be hitting it now, y'all. I be speeding. I'm a speed demon. I really am. Luckily, I ain't never had a wreck. I ain't never done none of that. I have had an accident one time, but it was because the person hit me. But yeah, I didn't get a ticket that day, y'all. So with this particular situation, the mother was locked up for something that had nothing to do with her current situation. Her kids were with their father, and the whole situation as to why the case even opened up was because there were allegations of sexual abuse. And it was just a strange case because it kept switching up. One minute we were told that the uncle, y'all, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I don't even know where I was because I'm gonna connect the first video to this, but oh my gosh, I just ended up talking to my cousin who had the stroke. Today is her birthday. Y'all. So I'm just gonna end the video right here. I'm gonna try to come back and tell y'all just a little bit, just to give y'all a little update. But anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.